Hello and welcome to the 31st installment of the Extreme Hardware podcast. We have a rather large crowd with us tonight. So obviously the first is our lovable, squishable Chris.
Yeah, they're called love handles, actually.
Yes. We're also joined by Axifer.
Hello from Canada.
We're also joined by Alex.
Hi. Also hi from Canada, but the other side of Canada. Well, actually not really. The same province, but like more south.
It's
got more good burger places around it.
We also have
Probably.
Rick.
Hello, how are you today?
And we also have another guest with us, just for the first time, Mary.
Hi.
That looks like it's everybody. So we'll get right on to our first topic. So, just this week, Extreme Hardware ran its folding competition. So I do not believe any prizes have been selected yet, but it appears that our number one folder this month was Bastion NL by submitting 1,790 work units.
Jesus Christ.
1,700. Wow.
That's a lot of work.
And then we next followed up by our buddy Super Crumpet, who folded 1,360 work units. Then followed by myself, who folded 1,004.
What was the rig of the guy in first place?
I'm sorry.
More like rigs.
What was the setup for the guy in first place?
I think he has 3 computers, all with like 10 series GPUs and 20 series GPUs. So,
All right.
Okay. Makes
What
sense.
Simmons, out of interest, what is the 20 series, 2080 Ti versus 1080 Ti in terms of PPD?
I
Because
think,
Blade's PPD thing hasn't been updated since,
yeah. Well, so it was actually just updated about a week and a half ago, but we don't really have a whole lot of 20 series submissions right now. So that's the big issue. But I think the 1080 Ti is capable of 1.5 to 1.8 mil PPD, and the 20 series has been netting, or the 2080 Ti specifically, I've seen it getting like 2.5 to 3 mil depending on the work unit.
So actually a lot more PPD than percentage FPS improvements it gets. That's
Yeah, well,
what I wanted to find out.
Well, because keep in mind, your PPD is calculated, or the quick return bonus, which actually gets you the most points. It's basically handled by how fast you can brute force the work unit, and it has been proven that from generation to generation, there's an instructions per clock optimization, as well as just more compute units to brute force the work unit. So, I think the 2080 Ti did surpass the Titan V or whatever the
Really?
Titan RTX, just because of the fact you can overclock it. So
Wait, Titan V is in the Volta Titan, or Titan RTX is in the 2080 Ti, but a bit faster?
yeah, the 2080 Ti. Yeah, the Titan V, or not the Titan V, but the Titan RTX. I don't know if we even have any PPD submissions for the Titan V because nobody bought the damn thing. So
I mean, it's not even meant for gamers anymore.
And it does 3 million PPD, I think they said.
Okay, so it's up there with the RTX.
So
I mean, the only real benefit is that you get a slightly wider memory bus, and this is the kind of workload that can actually benefit from that. Because
True.
Yeah, and the other thing is, historically, the Titan has always been surpassed by the equivalent generation Ti, just due to the speed of the GPU is super important if you're going for just work.
And I mean, hell, the fact that you could get them overclocked out of the box, because the Titan, you can only really get the reference model. If I remember correctly, back in the good old days with the first gen Titan, it might have been the Titan Black, which was just the same thing, but also $1,000 and with one more little compute unit thingy, SMX units that I want to enable. Anyway, if I remember correctly, I think EVGA wanted to sell one with an aftermarket cooler, but NVIDIA said no. So they just shipped the 780 Ti cooler, because it's the same chip, remember? They just shipped this 780 Ti cooler in the box with their Titan that still had the reference cooler on it, and that's how they did that.
Totally not suspicious at all.
Yeah, I mean,
It's software given us to you for no reason. It's just free. Don't ask why.
Haha, yes. So, yes, congratulations to the folders. If I do not know when the prize winners will be announced, but they will be announced soon. So, moving on to our first article. This one comes straight from Intel, specifically an Intel YouTube video. Just recently, there was Intel's video submission for Virtual Computex 2020. Intel CEO Bob Swan did a presentation on the upcoming processors and a couple of the various roadmaps that Intel is gearing towards. And one of the interesting ones is the Intel CEO says that hardware benchmarks should be deprecated and you should just trust the company instead.
Oh, you got to be fair. They don't say that just benchmarks are not trustworthy anymore. It's that you have to give the benefit of the doubt to companies based on the tech that they're putting into the new processors, not just the raw performance numbers that people actually can test and mean something.
Yeah, we have to give Intel's R&D team some credit. I mean, like, look, I appreciate that microprocessors are some of the most complicated things ever made by man, but also I really don't care how complicated it is. Like, yeah, sure, I can respect the engineers who made it, but it also literally doesn't matter if it can't do the jobs that I'm throwing at it.
Exactly.
And so given that synthetic benchmarks these days, from what I've seen, are just a lot less common. Like, people don't really use them as much. It's going to be like, here's how it does Blender, here's how it does Handbrake, here's how it does Cinebench. Okay, that's basically synthetic. Does anybody really use Cinema 4D?
Right. I mean, but that's the thing is like, I mean, especially with like what Gamers Nexus and LTT and a few other sites have been doing towards their own benchmarking suite that they're using. They use a pre-canned render job for Blender or whatever other software, and then they just compare how long did it take for it to do this thing and what settings did we use.
Yeah, like co-compile as well. Like, here's this version of the Linux kernel. We compiled it. This is how long it took.
But I will also say there's something to be said about these pre-canned benchmarks like Unigine Valley and Cinebench, because, I mean, the results have been known for years, and you can kind of see trends as technology improves. Did the brute force compute get better? Was there actual IPC improvement? You know, stuff along those lines, and it can be tested, and it's easy, and it works. I don't think that should be devalued, but I feel like
it's still important. It's still usable. It's just it's limited in scope. You
Correct.
Can't really draw. You cannot necessarily draw meaningful conclusions just due to the nature of the benchmarks. And
I was going to say, unfortunately, like, and you're absolutely correct, and this does support his case a little bit, but the way he worded it was not that. He basically said, nope, these synthetic benchmarks suck, and you shouldn't use them because you should trust us. And
wait, did he specify synthetic, or did he just say benchmarks in general? Because I saw him get a lot of shit for saying like benchmarks in general, but
I think
because reading his quote, because his quote is, "We should see this moment as an opportunity to shift our focus as an industry away from benchmarks to the benefits and impacts of the technology we create. The pandemic has underscored the need for technology to be purpose-built so it can meet these evolving business and customer." Okay, so yeah, no, that doesn't actually sound like kinds of benchmarks. It sounds more like he wants a very qualitative approach to reviews, which simply does not make sense, because what can I say about a CPU that's qualitative? That, like, it feels fast? But that's silly because we can quantify that. That's what a benchmark is for.
Exactly.
Beyond that, it's like, wow, look at how pretty this IHS design is. Like,
it feels
nobody
by hand.
Yeah.
Well, I think what he's trying to get at is the fact that Intel offers things like QuickSync and AVX 512, and
which are also things you can benchmark for that matter.
On single speed boost and better reliability over the last 10 years in server markets and professional markets. So they're trying to play on their own strengths and trying to discount everything that they're not a strength in right now.
Hello, special guest Navjack here, who's editing this right now. Anyway, I want to chime in on this discussion going on here about what Intel might mean, or at least the way I interpret this, is Intel has a whole lot of really good developer tools and relations. They have the Parallel Studio plugin suite and for Visual Studio. that has a whole lot of optimizations. The Intel compiler for Windows. They also have VTune, which is a performance profiling program that, Intel has hardware-based sampling things in the driver that have low overhead for you to be able to profile programs that you're working on or programs that you're trying to figure out why it's slow but you don't have the source code for. Those are kind of benefits that you can't really put into a benchmark at all.
Well, actually, do keep in mind that QuickSync is, it's a hardware feature. You can benchmark that. Now, qualitatively, and this actually doesn't work in Intel's favor, but if you want to be like qualitative about it and not really use numbers, you can say that QuickSync actually makes things worse because the image quality isn't as good. Because that's been my experience with it. I finally got some settings in OBS to work properly, but it is still not as good as encoding on the CPU itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's workable, and I understand that it's worse, but I also understand the situation that it's for, which is real-time encoding. But yeah, I don't think there's any way to not have benchmarks. That just doesn't make sense.
I understand that if he's trying to say, look, we have a lot more purpose-built hardware, and then we can't rely on the pre-canned benchmarks that people have been using for years. Sure, that's fine. But as these technologies develop and become more available to the public, people will create benchmarks for them, like RTX or ray tracing benchmarks that people are now creating. It's like, the industry will evolve so you can actually compare apples to oranges in certain environments, So
yeah, and even then, now that ARM is becoming a thing, that's also kind of hard to benchmark just because there's relatively little ARM software out there.
Yeah,
but people are still managing to do it, and in fact, that's one of the arguments there, which is we got to make all this effort to actually make the code work. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a very naive approach to it. I feel like if he would have presented his ideas better, that would have been fine. But unfortunately, despite any positive direction he was trying to take with it, it really just came across as benchmarks bad. We do not like benchmarks, and that's
we don't like benchmarks because we're losing to AMD is what everybody read it as. Especially since what conference was this at? Computech? Oh, okay. I was going to say that was a gaming conference. That's definitely, we're scared of AMD.
No, it was virtual Computex. So
that's a dog looking down. I love that dog.
You're distracted. So moving on to the next topic. Corsair, they make power supplies.
They make lots of things, but yeah.
They make all the things. Anything you can make RGB, Corsair make.
Yeah.
I have yet to see a Corsair branded
RGB. They will make it RGB.
That's true.
That's true. He's right.
They have an RGB monitor.
Does Corsair sell light strips?
No. Well, technically, yes, they do, but it's bundled with their Commander Pro fan controller.
Andrew, I realize you're making a joke about RGB monitors because, haha, all monitors are RGB, but there actually is something called the Ambilight, which you hook
referencing.
up. Yeah, were you though? Okay.
Yeah,
because that's a really cool thing, and I want one. Somebody managed to get an FPGA to pull out the HDMI bitstream and make one himself because it was only it only ever came in one size for one particular TV or something.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're right. I found it. Yeah, Lightning Pro. Oh, $50 for 4 strips. What?
So they make everything RGB, with the exception of their power supplies. I don't think they actually own or sell an RGB power supply yet. I know Asus does, and I know Thermaltake does, but that's not the point. Corsair is one of the big industry leaders in the small form factor power supplies in terms of just making them available to. And recently, certain small form factor power supplies manufactured between October 2019 and 2020 are now being recalled.
Oof, Silverstone's better anyway.
Yes. However,
what are the OEMs for this? Is it CWT or Great Definitely not Great. Well, it might be Great Walls. Probably
Yeah,
not.
I'm pulling up details because unfortunately that forum link was kind of useless.
Okay.
IRL.
So they are PSUs within or that have the lot code ranges of 194448XX through 2011 48XX, manufactured between October 2019 and March 2020. But basically, there's been a higher RMA rate for just power supplies either failing catastrophically or just quitting.
Catastrophically. I love that.
Well,
I need
Yeah,
something
that's a bad thing to have happen in your power
I mean, a
supply.
catastrophic power supply failure is that the power supply dies and it fries your hardware.
It's
Yeah, before it
great.
explodes.
Great Walls, the OEM, and they're the ones that that Walmart build that Gamers Nexus got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They made the power supply for that.
Oh, great.
Oh my god, Corsair is
They make a
just
ton of power supply, like OEM power supplies.
Corsair is just all over the place when it comes to like power supply OEMs because they go from like rebranded Seasonics, rebranded Superflowers, and then at like the very bottom it's like, yeah, here this is no name brand. They were
You're not
the
even
cheapest
legally
bidder.
allowed to sell it like outside of India and Africa. I know there's a
Yeah.
few dollars. It's crazy.
That's one of the problems with whenever you buy a pre-built PC, even from like iBuyPower or like any of these other companies, the one component a lot of them cheap out on is the PSU. It's always like consistent.
Oh no, I mean like they're I'm kind of glad that like OEM PCs have Windows in them a lot because that's a gamer feature now. Because like if you're just going through Walmart and you just like drop into the computer section, it's like here's a gaming PC. It's like all right, this is reference GPU. You can see like one DIMM slot in there. You can see this like the case actually looks nice. They're all like powder coated black now. You don't really see any cases that all have like all silver internals. And you just like look in these and you just realize just where they cheaped out on, and basically it's everything except for the CPU.
Wait, everything
And
except
the
for the CPU?
CPUs, yeah, because that's made by Intel. You can't get like a budget Celeron or something. That doesn't happen anymore. Cyrix went out of business years ago.
Usually if it is a higher end GPU, like let's say like a 1660 Ti or something like that, it's like a reference model 1660. I mean, so that's going to be a decent quality component, but then like everything else in it, you got that budget OEM motherboard, cheap RAM and storage.
You know it's going to be bad because when you're picking out your parts for that, I think a while ago I tried building I wanted an iBuyPower, and just for the fun of it, I wanted to see if I could build a PC for cheaper than it would cost me to get that same component from iBuyPower, right? So I did the numbers. For what it was worth, it wasn't that far off. I mean, maybe like $100, $200. But I noticed the one component that I couldn't pick was the power supply. Everything else I could pick, I couldn't pick the power supply.
There's a few of those custom PC sites that actually do allow you to choose that, but they're more expensive.
I mean, it would be, I don't know. I think it'd be nice if it were like they choose an appropriately sized power supply for you based on your build, but also here's a list of models that we use so you can look up what we're using yourself. They're not going to do that though.
No, of course not.
Probably
no,
not even contractually allowed.
See, I think the funniest one that I saw was I was walking through Best Buy sometime at the tail end of last year, and I saw this 500 watt non 80 plus rated gray power supply just bolted to the top of the case.
Nice.
Gamer case. But,
not even 80 plus. That's like,
nope.
Dude, I've got an 80 plus bronze power supply. I have had it for 7 years now.
Yep.
It wasn't even like extra expensive when I bought it. It was basically the default. Like 80 plus is just the default.
Mm-hmm.
How do you clean a power supply? Is there even a way to clean the inside of it? Because I'm terrified of opening mine up and getting
you open it up and you clean it.
Yeah, compressed air for the backside should work too, and a vacuum coming out the fan.
I always thought you were never supposed to open a power supply.
You can. I've soldered wires into mine because I needed access to the 5-volt standby rail.
Frick, the problem is the reason why people don't open power supplies, or they shouldn't, is because they don't know what a capacitor is, and then they decide to touch the capacitor without.
Yeah, I just
shorted.
I just unplugged my PC from the wall, and then I pressed the power button a lot, and then once satisfied, I cracked it open, and then I looked for the big capacitors, and I touched them with my screwdriver, and
you touch them with your tongue.
Oh yeah, I should have done that. That would have killed me.
That was one of those things I always heard about. Like, I don't know if this is still a case now, but like there was a time in PC building, I think early, like before the 2010s, when people were like really, really paranoid about like static damage. And there was a company that would sell like a special bracelet that would like ground you like to the
Oh, yeah,
ground.
anti-static wrist straps. I mean, they work kind of. They do provide a connection between like your wrist and ground. It's not
Oh,
necessarily
yeah.
good because electricity doesn't flow through skin very well.
I was going to say the big thing with that one is like the industry that genuinely uses anti-static wrist straps these days are hardware or like hard drive recovery, data recovery services. Because
people were like, they can't just go RMA apart and call it quits for the day.
Yeah.
Well, I remember there was a guide on there specifically because I went to get one because there were the two things that every guy had to have. It was like an anti-static wristband and then one of those little mini vac things to clean out your computer with. Those are the two things.
Yeah, the data vac. I had considered getting a data vac at some point, but back in the fall, I ended up getting the reverse. It is a 500 watt blower. It's just like an air blower. It's not an air compressor, but it's just.
It's basically an electronic compressed air.
Yeah, essentially. It shoots good. That's what the video that I made of me like inflating my mouth. That's where that comes from.
Oh, okay. Have you tried hooking that up to a Nerf dart yet?
Actually, first of all, it runs on AC, so that would be a bit more difficult. Like 12-volt air compressor is going to work better with batteries. Yeah, I mean, that would be funny, though. Like, hook it up to a Mag Strike or something and just mod that so it has a breach check and take magazines instead of the stupid Mag Strike clips. That's an idea.
Those are two of them. And there was a guide on that website, one of the websites that sold one of those ESD wristbands. And it said, if you can't get an ESD wristband, you can do the following 2 steps. Step number 1, turn off the computer. Step number 2, go to your bathroom. Step number 3, touch the metal, what is it? Go to your shower and touch the metal shower. Touch the handles, touch the shower head, touch everything.
That's not necessarily grounded either. What?
That's what it said.
Listen, the plumbing in your house, if it uses copper plumbing, it is required to be grounded.
Oh, is it? Okay. No, the thing is, though, you can just touch the case. Like, you just need some kind of charge sink. That's all, like, grounding is. If I have a potential, then I'm going to make it go into the thing without the potential.
Yeah, like, honestly,
the computer case, like, if my computer is plugged into the wall and I'm working on it, I do not care if I've, like, discharged anything or not, because I have touched the case. I am discharged by virtue of, like, doing that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like Frick, I've got a great YouTube channel that you should look up at some point. It's Styropyro. The dude does a lot of like high power laser based experiments.
I've seen that. Yeah,
and like he's got a perfect like grounding setup, which is he has a power strip with a screwdriver shoved into the ground, and he's good to go. Yes, it looks sketchy.
What do you mean? What's the power strip? Say it again?
Yeah, so you know, like a power strip.
I'm familiar, yes.
Okay, and you know the three prongs that goes into the power outlet, right?
Yes.
The one in the middle on the bottom, at least for us Americans, that is a ground. So if you like have a nail in that, or if you have like a screwdriver, you can technically ground yourself on it. But the reason why he does that is because it looks sketchy as hell, and it makes for
that's funny. Content. Yeah, no, that's something that you can do with some products. You can get
don't do it.
No. I mean, you can get like cables, which are it's like a standard 3-prong cable, but the hot and neutral are just plastic. That's just for like fitting it into the outlet. Whereas the bottom one, the ground wire, actually is like able to be used and touched. And there's uses for it. Like, it's unusual, but
so. But anyway, I would recommend that you go to either the Corsair forum or look up any of these articles in regards to these power supplies. It is a very specific range of lot numbers where these power supplies have a known defect in them. So Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about.
In the meantime, just go buy a Seasonic and call it a day.
Yeah, honestly. Or a Superflower. I like their power supplies as well.
Super expensive.
Yeah, so I had an issue with the Superflower one. I just even though I suppose the power supply components themselves were really good, I bought the EVGA rebranded version of it as a G.
That'll do it.
G2. No, just hang on. It's the fan logic that it has. And it doesn't actually matter if you buy the OEM Superflower one or if you buy the sort of rebranded EVGA one. As soon as you went above 650 watts, above 750 watts, the fan was horrendously bad. I think Andrew actually has the lower wattage version of the one that I had. I had the 850 watt one. And when the fan kicks on, it goes from 0 to 1,300 RPM. And it's very noticeable because it's like that big jump.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I just leave the fan on permanently. But if you leave the fan on permanently, it sits there spinning at 1,800 RPM. So it's it's a little bit better than having it go on, off, on.
I've tried to do fan mods before. I did a fan mod of my current power supply to swap it out with a Noctua, but now I just have it running at full speed all the time because the controller doesn't work anymore.
that is the biggest reason why I got the power supply I have now, which is a Seasonic 850 watt titanium unit. The fan turns on never.
Yeah, because
honestly, I am kind of tempted when I do my upgrade. I'm shooting for the fall at this point. Whenever Ryzen 4000 RTX 3000 comes out, I am honestly considering getting a passive power supply and just having enough fans in the front of the case where it's not an issue. But
I'd like to keep in mind that I have a big water cooling. I can't hear it at all over even my fan spinning at 400 RPM.
Yeah, no, I mean that's valid, but that's your use case, Alex. Not everybody is like you, Alex.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is quite nice is that the fan doesn't go 0 to 1,200. It goes 0 to 200, 300.
How loud is your water cooling setup?
It's very quiet.
Really? What are you using in that thing?
D5.
D5, and then the black ice radiators. I've got a 560 plus a 280 plus a 140, and then EK Vada fans, and an Aqua Aero Quadro to control all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have way too much information that I have split on my 4K monitor.
Wait. Okay, my brain just finally put together what you said. You meant to say Aquero, not Aqua Aero.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah, no. I've always been interested in those Aquero controllers.
Aquero is where fish live.
It was so worth it. The Quadro is very cheap. It's $40, I think.
You know what? I've been really vocal about this before, but I get really mad that cases don't have 5 1/4 inch bays anymore because I really like the Aquero unit that just mounts into a 5 1/4 bay.
This one,
Simmons, you are absolutely the kind of guy to do case mods. Why don't you?
Because I'm lazy.
Just write it down under the power supply shroud.
Well, I mean,
water-cooled power supply.
Well, nah. See, I don't think I would do an Aquero in my current build, but
I would suggest Quadro just because it's basically a fan hub plus, and you can use RGB on it if you really want to as well.
Right? Oh man, you guys, I don't know. I was talking with Alex about this months ago, and I got some stuff priced out, and I realized for the single GPU system that I wanted, it would cost me about $800 to do water cooling, and it's that would take me from a 3070 to a 3080 Ti. It's I cannot justify that.
Well, see,
what's the most important part of the build? Is it usually the pump?
No. It's actually everything. The radiators themselves can cost upward of $100 to $200. The pump is going to be $40, but then if you want to do a pump res combo, then you're going to spend another $60 on that. You're probably going to get a bunch of extra fans. The fittings cost anywhere from $10 to $20 a piece, depending on what fittings you get.
I mean, I looked at a build with more budget parts, and I got it down to $500 for the entire loop. But again, Jesus, that's
and honestly, the most expensive part is the water blocks.
Yeah, the GPU block. You look at 150. for like a
Yeah,
decent block for a GPU.
Yeah, I was even
CPU
looking
at
at
least
like
70.
universal.
Yeah,
I was
so-
even looking at like universal blocks, and even then, it's like, God, that's terrible. And I know you're not supposed to get universal blocks, but
right. But I mean, they work in a pinch if you can't afford the bigger, better blocks.
I'm also fine with it from a standpoint of like I did the investment, if you will, so I'm not going to change any of the parts.
Yeah, because like for example, for me, I know that I'm going to be getting a next generation Threadripper at some point. And since I already have a Threadripper loop with soft tubing, all I have to do is just pop off the thing. Like I pop off an AIO and I'm good to go.
right. But,
Okay,
but you can also do the same with a Threadripper air cooler.
Well, sure, but I wanted the water cooling, so shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody wants to set up like an entry level build, it'll cost them like $500 altogether.
Just for the water cooling component.
If they want a GPU block, yes. If they're not doing GPU, then you're best off with just like a AIO like the Fractal Celsius or something that you can break into later because it does use standard G1 quarter fittings, or go like an EK Predator or something. Because I've got the Fractal Celsius myself, which is great because it's just standard G1 quarter fittings. So I could just swap out or add an extra rads if I want to, or add in a reservoir, or add a GPU block in.
Yeah, honestly, I think that EK kit offering that they have is by far one of the best ways to get in these days.
I had taken a look at popping open a water loop and just like sticking more stuff on it. And number one, the pumps are not really rated for that much.
No,
So
of course
weird.
not.
But I don't know. The idea of it seemed funny, but even then, I've still got to buy more radiators. I've still got to buy more blocks. I still got to buy more fittings. I still got to buy.
That's the thing for me is because with the component that I swap out the most frequently is my GPU. So my GPU is not built into my loop. So basically, I have an overglorified 280 mil AIO in my loop right now. But it's also set up.
GPU is the best thing to water cool.
Oh, trust me, I'm very aware, but I'm still very proud of my 1080 Classify that I got for $200. So I like looking at that.
Right. You can set like that's like that card will last you for at least 2 more years.
Yeah, I'm going to be upgrading this probably this year.
Let me get that 1080 when you're done.
No, this is my shell.
Depending what people want for the loop, that's also the big thing too. But if you're not going to be overclocking like crazy, I've got a Ryzen 3600X overclocked to 4.3 like all core all the time off just a 360 rad, and then a Sapphire Pulse 5700 XT with its aftermarket cooler. The fans on the aftermarket cooler do not get louder than the Gentle Typhoons on my water loop or my power supply. It is so stupid quiet that I could have it on my desk beside me and it's not loud. If I was that
really? Wait, so you're right next to it, like a couple inches away?
Well, a few feet.
Yeah, it's actually 2 feet away from my microphone right now.
It's right next to my ear.
Actually, does this mean that you swapped out your power supply fan? How'd that go?
I don't remember what you're referring to, but I've swapped out my power supply within the last year, so I probably just fixed the issue by doing that.
Okay, I misinterpreted what you said. You said Gentle Typhoons in your power supply.
And
my power supply fan on power supply doesn't get louder than my Gentle Typhoons. Nor does
okay, that's right. Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
so the Gentle Typhoons are arguably the loudest thing in my computer. And even then, they're still stupid quiet at, I think I have them set at 60% all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to start a whole new like wave of EP measuring where people start busting out decibel meters and start comparing that FPS benchmark.
Like, I mean, honestly, that's actually more interesting. Like, oh, look, I have the most powerful thingy, but like, I don't know.
FPS 20 points
FPS per decibel would be funny.
I would say definitely go follow Fanless Tech on Twitter. That's a really fun account to watch people get mad at.
Yeah, the issue with Fanless is, I think this is what's helping killing these Corsair SF, which we're still technically talking about, is the fact that all these fanless power supplies have taken off, is that if you don't have a fan blowing air across the power supply, that's where all your humidity is going to collect. Because get rid of the humidity. Same with if you have a water cooler on your PC, but you don't have any case airflow to blow across the VRMs and across the base of the socket like a regular downflow OEM cooler would, you have a bunch of spot where there's stale airflow where your humidity can just build up. And eventually that's going to kill the electronics or rust or something.
I do have a counter to that though, because if these fanless like these purpose-built fanless cases are actually engineered correctly, kind of like this one here. This is the StreetComm DB4, which has been really popular for a while.
Oh god, that's beautiful. Oh my, that looks like an art.
Yeah, it's about, I think it's a $400 case. And basically the idea is you have basically modular heat pipe systems where you have to apply your own thermal paste to the heat pipes and then it uses the side panels as the radiator, essentially. The way that they have this case designed is I think it comes with the power supply pre-installed in it, which is oriented in a way that convection naturally cools it.
Convection on this scale is pretty marginal.
I was going to say, keep in mind, this case is only designed for like a 350 watt TDP total system. So,
all your components are designed where convection and the components themselves, all the heat sinks are aligned where all the air flows vertically freely, where convection can actually work. Then it's fine.
Yeah.
But any power supply designed for small form factor cannot be designed to be a perfectly. So
yeah,
I think
now I think one of the most interesting use cases of this case specifically was I know one of the EDM producers that I follow. He used to stream on Twitch all the time, but his stream box is one of these, and he just uses
because it's silent and he does audio work.
Exactly, and it's fascinating because he's just using an iGPU, and I think he uses one of those external Elgato capture cards, so it works out perfectly.
The one thing that gets me about any kind of fanless PC is that they're so big for so relatively little performance. And if you are actively cooling, even if it's just something like, oh, hey, here's this old 200 millimeter fan and I undervolted it to 5 volts. Right. Even that, just that tiny amount of airflow is going to drop temperatures dramatically. So I really...
Not like fanless, but extremely low.
Yeah, we've got almost, but not quite. We've got heat sinks that could be run passive, but we just slapped a fan on it anyway for that extra bit of performance.
I was going to say, do you guys remember those full fanless massive heat sinks that were about the size of your motherboard? Yeah.
There was one that was just a big giant copper ring that was like half a foot tall.
Oh yeah. Those were cool.
But just the best about those is slapping a fan on them.
Yeah, exactly. If you put on like a small like 300 RPM fan on it, it's just enough airflow to make it that much more effective, and you're good to go.
Yeah,
I looked up the price of that StreamComm DB4, $350, and I'm noticing like a trend with a lot of these fanless cases. None of them are that at all.
Yeah, they're like kind of artisanal. Fancy person cases. That's another thing. They also tend to be really expensive.
It's
what they are. Though, I understand. It's not like already getting into like a water cooling case. That's already pretty niche to find someone who manufactures that. But then to go even further and get like someone that's a fanless case for a niche computer, that's the very small amount of manufacturing.
So, and that is the problem, Frick. Is like because the people who are in the market for this kind of thing, it's a very small market. So of course the bill of materials for these things are already really high. I mean, you're looking at several slabs of aluminum sheets or copper sheets in some situations.
Do keep in mind, for some systems, it does make sense. A lot of industrial PCs are fanless because they're in such dirty environments that they can't rely on active cooling. That said, they also tend to be stuff like Intel Atom. It's just this basic x86 computer. It can run like Windows CE or something. And that's all it's needed. Oh gosh, that's all it's needed for. So they're not really throwing off a lot of heat either. It's I don't know. It's something I would like to play with, but it's just so much money, and it just feels so pointless because just a little bit of airflow is going to make it so much better. And I can't stand the idea of not doing that.
Ironically, I think half I looked up the weight of these things. They're not small either. They're super heavy.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
it's probably half the price of the case itself.
Because that's the other thing is like you can have one of these fanless systems, but the counter to that is if you don't have any airflow in your room, the things are going to roast. So what they do is they rely on large thermal mass to just heat soak over a longer period of time.
They're pretty as hell, though.
You see
No
my
doubt.
ceiling
Let's
fan is
you
my-
make one of these on the show. Let's interview them.
Honestly,
Good point. Sorry,
Well-
when you said the like the high sort of waste or whatever, the really dirty air, and having these.
oh yeah,
This would be great. This is great for HTPCs where you just don't want to maintain them ever, and you put it like next to your TV stand or something.
Yeah, but then the counter to that is what a lot of people will try to do is like, because this cube case is a very specific example of one of these fanless cases. There are more traditional style fanless cases. There's also like slimmer ones that look like closer to like an Xbox 360 but bigger.
yeah.
But
How ironic is that? Case
well,
that-
And then there's some
Just hang
systems.
on.
yeah,
I wanna
I
hear
was
what
gonna
Simmons
say,
has to
I
say.
have a point, and that the issue is that with a lot of these fanless style cases, the moment that you make it convenient to like shove into like a media console, it defeats the point of the fanless case, because now you're just roasting your hardware in a large thermal mass inside of a closed box.
Well, in that case, you'd want to be using like a low power part, like Intel Atom, that kind of thing.
Oh, sorry, I meant more
Actually-
the case. Like the case itself. So the case looks nice, and you wouldn't mind putting it on your TV, whatever, or something like that.
Media console, whatever.
Yeah.
No, it's funny you bring up the 360, Simmons, and the main problem people were having with the 360 with overheating, I mean, besides like the shoddy workmanship, is people were putting them in these spaces with no ventilation because of the way it was shaped. So because
Well,
people were over on
Do
the
keep in
side,
mind,
they were
big
tossed in
problem.
there.
A big problem with the 360 wasn't even like workmanship; it was just lead-free solder, because ROHS compliance was a thing. Because lead is a bad thing, and even acute exposure is bad for your brain.
Yeah.
Exposure.
But
Early
this
lead-free solders were very bad.
the reason was which accelerated this thing, because those things were going to fail either way, but having them in the least possible air restricted possible,
No,
it accelerated a lot. And because, and like Simmons said, if you shape something like that, people are going to put it to where they think it'll fit. And if they fit it in these places, these entertainment systems with no airflow, it's going to make that a lot worse.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what was a big issue is because the PS3 was also relatively notorious with the very first, or the bigger, chunkier PS3, that the first generation of it. So yeah, because there was a lot of these people that like it was a hot running console, and they would box it up like they would do their old PS2s and PS1s, and so
There's just
then
too much computer in it.
yeah, no, like my dad unfortunately bought off on a lot of that, and he bought one of those aftermarket coolers, which are by far the worst products that ever exist.
Is that like one of those laptop chill mats?
So for the PS3, it was basically the shroud that went on the right side of or it was like the left or the right side of the thing, so it was laying flat, and it would blow air into the console. The problem is that these aftermarket coolers, they were only cooling the section of the console that the heat sensor was in.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So the console thought it was cooler than it was, and it actually.
Our family PS3 actually yellow lit at one point, which was the PS3 equivalent of the red ring.
Yellow lights to death.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's also another thing. Just like computers have kind of gotten hotter over time. I mean, like how people thought, oh, wow, the Pentium 4 Extreme Edition, that's 130 watt TDP. Meanwhile, Intel's pushing like 250 stock, AMD's pushing 250 stock. Exifer died. That's sad. He actually believed. Yeah, he's dead. Rip Exifer. But yeah, like if you look at like, for example, a Game Boy, right? Battery powered. That's Nintendo's handheld. It's a battery powered thing without even a heatsink. And now you look at the Switch and it has a fan in it. Granted, that's also a home console, but I don't know.
Okay, so we went on an extremely long tangent. So let's go ahead and move on to our third article.
Half the podcast is passive case cooling, and that's fine. We never talk about it. Let's get
No,
some diversity.
Honestly, fanless tech is really fascinating, and there was another really interesting one that we should.
Oh God, no, Simmons, please, no, Simmons.
I'm not going to bring it up now.
No, you have to bring it up now. Simmons, you can't just blue ball us here.
Okay, fine. Basically, instead of using a heat pipe system, it used a similar. It was basically an overglorified heat pipe with a
vapor chamber.
No. It was that fanless case where it had this special tubing with a specialty fluid that kind of like I think it functions similar to like Novak,
Oh, interesting. Okay, so heat pipe, but with a refrigerant instead of. I think they just use water, don't they?
It's some form of like water vapor, but regardless, it was super fascinating. Also, like $450 to $600 for the case because you were for the R&D on the specialty coolant. But
I bet it looked gorgeous though.
It actually looked a lot more industrial looking. I'll send you a link after I introduce our next article.
Oh, here we go. Lead right into it, Simon, please.
Yeah, I do not have a good segue for this, but how many of y'all use Google Chrome?
I don't, because I'm not a dumb idiot.
I use Rockmelt, a browser that pays me to use it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, for all of us plebeians who use Google Chrome, so over the past few years, Chrome has been trying to implement like, their pop-up blocker is basically garbage. We've all known that, but
I'm sure that's by design too.
But anyway, Google is apparently slated to enabling a on by default anti-notification spam system in July of 2020. So basically, it's going to be, or if you use Google Chrome, sometimes if you go to some browsers that do have the pop-ups, there's a little bell that'll appear in the URL bar that says, "Hey, a pop-up tried to load." Basically, this is a more aggressive filter for these pop-up spam ads that will sometimes load on sites, and it will be enabled by default.
Yeah, that could be a bad thing. Big change like that by default. Although, I guess, have they had this around for a while? Because if they had it around for a while and it's optional and, like, more importantly, popular, then sure, whatever.
I think it's one of those things is like, because I think the majority of the user base are people who aren't really savvy about what a pop-up ad is.
Yeah, that's valid.
Do those people still exist?
Do they?
Yeah, well, or they see a pop-up ad and they don't know what to do when they see it. I know my parents are telling me this.
Your dad clicked.
Yeah.
How about they tackle the real problem, which is going to a site that has like 15 different download buttons and you can't tell which one is the real one?
Those people should be shot.
You mean CNET?
I mean, yeah, CNET or like one of these sites where any place you go to like download an image and it's like 15 different pictures. Like I don't. What am I supposed to click on?
My God.
So here's a quote from ZDNet here. So it's a quieter notification permission UI system. The features will include notification requests that force users to allow notifications in order to gain access to the site's content. Notification requests that are preceded by misleading prompts.
Ooh, good old dark patterns. You're tackling those.
Notification pop-ups that resemble chat messages will be disabled.
Oh no!
But then how will I make friends with the live chat agents?
Sites that once they receive approval to show browser notifications, they use notifications to steal personal information or trick users into sharing personal information. Those are going to be tried to be filtered. And sites that once they received approval to show browser notifications, they use the notifications to promote, host, or link malware to the unwanted software. So apparently they're going to be filtering those pop-ups.
Did they ever figure out a way to get rid of those pop-ups that pop up under the window that you already have open?
Oh yeah, the pop under things. I don't know how they do that exactly.
I still get those even when I'm using Chrome.
Frick, you need to find better websites for your picture. I'll send you some.
I was going to say, also, do you have an ad blocker installed?
No, I don't. Well, I use it for some things, but not for YouTube.
Oh my God, Frick, you are a grandpa.
I don't use it on YouTube because I like to support the people that I watch.
Well, yeah, but you can have an ad blocker and just disable it on YouTube.
You can whitelist websites. It's fine.
Oh no, I misspoke. I mean, I have it enabled on other sites, just not on YouTube.
Also, are you using AdBlock Plus?
No, I'm using what am I?
uBlock's what all the cool kids are using now.
I'm using Ghosttree and uBlock.
Okay, yeah, all right. So that's actually a good suite. So
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, no. Actually, uBlock it currently has 711 blockups in Google Docs right now, so that's kind of funny.
Oh wow!
I don't think it's just ads. I think it's just other like miscellaneous scripts for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
So is NoScript lame? Is NoScript not good anymore?
NoScript's fine.
I gave up on NoScript after they went to the new Firefox Quantum version. They kind of ruined the UI. I have been using UMatrix, although I'm on Firefox, so I didn't actually pay attention to what Frick was using.
Like if you guys really want to be cool, you can do what my buddy with the Raspberry Pi did, and he actually has he set up software where he can filters all the ad servers through his Raspberry Pi, so they don't even get to his network.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pi-hole's a classic.
That one, that one. I think PF sends if you are.
I've just done it the old-fashioned way. I just have a host file that has like thousands upon thousands of ad servers listed, and even if my ad blocker comes off, I don't see them.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I have that too. Spyware Blaster. That's the one I use.
I don't remember what this one was called. It's a very
host files is the way to do it. Screw anything else. Just do the host files.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, because it just works.
Yeah, it's the simplest thing, and it's the easiest thing. You can update it as much as you want.
Yep. So now that was some positive news about Google Chrome. Now let's talk about some negative news about Google.
Yeah, it's still run by Google, and they're terrible. What else is new?
Yeah, so as of right now, so this is also applicable for us plebeian Chrome users. Google is currently they're currently undergoing a class action lawsuit, a $5 billion US class action lawsuit about Google's incognito mode. So, as a surprise to no one, if you use Google Chrome and you still have and you're using incognito mode, they're still tracking everything you're doing.
Yeah. Oh no, the rules.
Oh god, they know all the videos I've watched.
Yeah, well,
all of them.
Well, no, because you don't use Chrome.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm still safe. They can't blackmail me.
What this appears to be related to it's how Chrome was allegedly marketed, or incognito was allegedly marketed, because nobody ever reads into the terms of service. Obviously, it does list all of the analytics and the ad management and all the most of the telemetry that is being sent, even when you're on incognito mode.
And to be fair, just because you agree to a TOS doesn't make it legally binding.
That is correct.
And that's what's going on. Proving
that is difficult.
The advertisement for incognito mode, and I'm pretty sure they've changed it in light of this lawsuit, but they advertise it as, if you use incognito mode, nothing will track you ever.
Yeah, they really do.
Please tell me they didn't actually say that.
They shouldn't have marketed it that way.
That's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
When you opened up a new incognito tab, they're like, your employer can still track what you're doing, but nobody else should.
The one thing they taught us when we were learning marketing is to never, ever, ever use absolutes. And Google just used nothing but it's a whole sentence of absolutes.
Well, and that's the other thing is what a lot of other people have also not been aware of is, hey, I'm going to use only incognito mode forever. But then they're going to log into Facebook, and then they're going to log into their Google accounts. And
you get ads based off of what you look at in incognito mode.
Yep.
But what I'm confused about is, I don't think the people that are really concerned with this, if that's really a problem, why wouldn't they just download Tor or Tails or something if that's such a big deal?
They wouldn't be using Facebook, I think.
Well, no, because there is actually a .onion you can go to if you want to get on Facebook on Tor.
Yeah.
Why? What?
Yeah, I can actually read you what it says when I open up a new incognito tab on my phone. It says other people who use this device won't see your activity. Downloads and bookmarks will be saved. Chrome won't save the following information: your browsing history, cookies and site data, and information entered in forms.
That is correct. None of that is safe to disk.
However, what they do track your IP. They do tie your IP with any sites that you're browsing, so that they can target ads and build your not incognito profile.
That's not Chrome, the browser, doing that. That's what web servers are doing.
Well, regardless,
that's kind of what the lawsuit is over. Based on what Mary just read, that doesn't.
Chrome itself logs your IP.
Chrome does that?
Yes.
Oh wow! See, sorry, I use Firefox, so I'm not used to my browser being the fucking Stasi.
Well, you burned one of our for the day.
All right, we get one per episode. It's fine. PG-13. It's fine. It's
I was
fine.
gonna say, I think you basically canned our entire strike list with that.
Wait, say it again. Say it again.
Okay, but moving on. There is the class action lawsuit. If you, I believe it is openly available if you want to enroll in it. We're not going to say whether or not you should do that or not, but I still think it's funny that they're being sued.
I mean, you might as well. You can get free money if you win, and if you lose, I don't know.
If anything, they're just going to give you more credit monitoring services.
You'll get a check for like $24 4 years from now.
Nice.
That's how it'll work.
But it definitely implies that like that stuff won't be saved, because after it says like Chrome won't save the stuff, it says your activity might still be visible to like the websites you visit, your employer or school, or your internet service provider.
I mean, it literally cannot spoof stuff like IP addresses. That's just how networks work. But yeah, that's sketchy as hell.
I know there's certain websites that won't let you access them if you have an ad blocker enabled, but is there a certain website that won't let you access it if you're in incognito mode?
Not yet.
No, not that.
Does incognito mode give a different user agent string?
No, it does not.
That's what I'm thinking. Because if it does, that could be blocked, right?
And technically, yes, you're correct. But you know what my favorite one is, because like Washington Post, they have that set up that if that like you have to have an account. Like there's a pop-up ad that basically makes it so you can't read anything.
You can just clear your cookies.
Well, no. Basically, what I found out that if you load the page and you see the text and then you kill the scripts that are loading, that pop-up window does not load and you can just read the entire article.
Yeah. I really hate those ad blockers, because most of the time they also just redirect you to a new page without putting the old page in your browser history, which means it's a brand new page and I can't get back to what I was reading. I can't even get back if I want to play nice and turn off my ad blocker. So I had to do that with Tweaktown. At one point I just set up like some very, very aggressive script blocking on that, because that was the only way to read their site. And screw you, I'm not enabling ads. I don't care enough.
That hijack your back button are still prevalent. They still exist.
It is not hard to do in PHP at all either, incidentally. Like it's just in JavaScript, I think. You can just like add entries on page load to your back button.
Is that a really difficult thing to implement, like protections in a browser? Like how come Chrome or Firefox haven't blocked that? Because it's super annoying.
It's a PHP script blocker that you can enable, but
right. But I'm saying like, that's something you like Chrome or Firefox could easily enable, like and disable. Like if they didn't want that to happen in the browser, they could enable that not to happen. Correct?
They should be able to. It would just be blocking a certain kind of script. I think it's JavaScript. I'd need to double check that. It's annoying as hell.
I need to do a quick plug, because since we are talking about sites that are obnoxious with ads, you know what a site that doesn't have ads that you should totally visit? ExtremeHW.net.
Yeah, give Enterprise your monies.
No. Enterprise has disabled ads on the site. He got really sick and tired of that. With
did he?
Yeah. He completely disabled ads on EHW.
Hey, nice job.
Yeah,
good job, buddy.
So
I'll symbolically disable my ad blocker on EHW now.
Now I'm worried about because web hosting isn't cheap, so I'm like hoping he doesn't go broke supporting it, but that's good.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a legitimate concern right now. But that is why he's encouraging that if you want to support the site, you get the premium membership, which is relatively affordable for a premium forum membership. So, So I don't want to dive too much into the logistics with that, but I do want to say if you want to browse a nice site with no ads, go to EHW.
Very nice site. We have a good time there. We're all friends. I'm your friend.
We post uncomfortable pictures in the last thing you ate thread.
Nice. That's probably mostly Andrew doing that, isn't it?
No. I need to do more. I need to do more of them. I've not been doing it.
Yeah, I haven't really been cooking anything lately because I haven't really been I've been cooking the same stuff over the past several weeks. So,
Wait, Andrews, what folder is bigger, your food folder or your doggo folder?
Easily the dog folder.
That's good.
This is priority straight. Come on, dude.
I know. I just had to make sure.
Yeah.
So
Now that I'm thinking about it, in doing research for filling out my ballot, I think websites can actually tell if you're using an incognito window, because local state like news source, if I opened up, yeah, they have one of those things where like if you don't log in or have a subscription, they're like you can't read the article. And if I had it open in an incognito window versus regular browser window, like it had a different message. In the incognito window, it's like, please leave your private browsing.
Yeah,
That's
you can.
I don't like that. That's
You
creepy as hell.
can make yourself fornicated if you do that. Sure.
But I guess they're allowed to do that. Like it's not illegal to do that. It's their site, but it doesn't make it any less creepy.
Yet. Not illegal yet, if I had my say.
I'll show you. I'll filibuster this lobby forever.
So speaking of information being compromised, Michigan State has recently been subject of a large ransomware attack.
Nice.
I know these ransomware articles are pretty common these days, and it's nothing new. But what's interesting about this specific one is the ransomware that targeted this was being served by what they're calling a ransomware as a service company. Quite literally a deep web / dark web based service where you can pay X amount of money for somebody else to do the ransomware attack for you.
Cool, dude.
So from what it looks like, in the ransomware,
they have an affiliate program. Oh, Jesus.
So the ransomware actually was not just you should pay us money to get your computers back. No, this actually did steal data, including passport scans, financial documents, and other various directories from major database servers.
That's a bad thing.
Yes. I think they I don't think it says how much money that they ended up paying to get their stuff back, or if it was ever gotten back. But the organization that targeted them was a great company called NetWalker. They host these ransomware services, and Michigan State University got wrecked. If you go there, I'm sorry.
Ohio State's better.
No comment.
I'm just trying to start fights.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Keep in mind, this is probably the most uneducated in terms of American sports.
Yeah. So all of you people are, almost all of you people are Americans at this point. Fine. Disgusting. Illegal.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, what was the last time you followed a sports team religiously?
Why would I follow a sports team at all?
Exactly.
Let alone to that degree.
So, yeah. That was my quick little tidbit about that. And then we also have another vulnerability for Android. So, Chris and Alex and Andrews, this is your perfect opportunity to yell at us.
You idiots don't have iPhones. Get off. Oh, wait, can't say that either. Already used it.
Jesus,
we can bleep it. Look, I'm excited.
I'm
Look, we're keeping the first one in because that one was actually funny. We could just bleep that one. It's fine. It's fine.
So
they put bleep? Yeah, they just block it out.
Or it'd be more funny if that clip just got cut out completely. But anyway, so this vulnerability is called Strandhog 2.0. It is originally from some organization that likes the Norse mythology. But basically, it is a
promising sign.
It is a backdoor in Android and the current flavor of Android, which will bypass all your permissions and just start enabling all of these tracking and logging features on your phone.
Wow, cool.
I mean, would they take your blood too? Christ.
Do you sacrifice your blood to your Android phone?
Not yet.
I got to get that fingerprint reader to work somehow.
With a built-in blood sugar scanner, it's coming.
Is that, dude? If that's not already an Android accessory, I would be shocked.
So this vulnerability specifically affects all versions of Android prior to version 10, which is roughly 90% of the active Android user base.
Wait, that's me. I'm targeted. I got one of those.
Well, 10 is pretty old though.
I'm running 8.1 right now.
Yeah, a lot of people who use Android don't update their phones because they can't afford to do it.
No, dude, I can't. My phone won't upgrade. It's not compatible.
Updates.
I was gonna.
Yeah, you guys don't get 5 years of support.
No, we don't. That's the thing. Like, a lot of these Android phones, they basically deprecate the update system after like 2.5 to 3 years, unless you have just like Samsung's a little bit better about it, but it's also Samsung.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, no. Simmons, did you mention the name of the app that's actually doing this?
I mean, yeah. What is it called?
It's called Super Happy Fun Game.
Oh,
It sure is.
oh boy.
Now if that doesn't sound like the most trustworthy app on the planet, I don't know what does.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Apparently, Pixel phones are like one of the only manufacturers that are actually patched for this. So, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so, I mean, my phone's vulnerable right now. I'm running 8.1. My other 4 phones are all running 8.1, which means I'm boned either way.
Well, no, wait.
4 phones.
Wait, Andrews, don't you have like 7 iPhones at this point?
He's on,
but that's not the point.
Yeah, for some reason, after he gets them, the screen just turns off after a couple days, and he hasn't figured out what the problem is.
He just buys a new one. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's how you fix them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This next article, this was something that you threw in here, Frick. So go ahead and take it away.
Hang on. No, this is more important. Mary has contributed. Fun fact, pretty sure there is a blood sugar scanner for the Game Boy and or DS. Okay, that sounds very nifty. We're going to Google. Nintendo.
You won't be able to find anything about the Game Boy one. I learned about this. There was a panel at MagFest. These people, they look up obscure video game history as a living and a hobby. And so good luck finding out about the Game Boy one. But the DS one did actually get pushed to market.
Oh, that plugs into slot 2. So actually,
there was also a radar detector for the original Game Boy, which was used to fishing. It was used for fishing people.
Nice.
All kinds of weird, dude. The amount of weird accessories to the Game Boy. Oh God, it was awesome.
I mean, I still think my favorite Game Boy accessory was the dot matrix printer.
Yeah.
That was a mainline one. That was made by Nintendo.
Yeah,
one really important accessory was the Game Boy camera, because that was the first mass market digital camera.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Also, if you put a Canon lens mount on it, I don't remember what Canon calls it, or really just any lens mount, you can stick proper camera lenses on it, and the results are actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can do you can actually get depth of field on a Game Boy camera.
Well, I mean, but that goes back to the old saying where more megapixels doesn't mean anything. If you have a decent lens, you can get a good quality photo.
Oh yeah, no, it's all about glass, because glass is physics. Megapixels is just computery nonsense.
There's people that actually make full-length videos with a Game Boy camera by hooking it up to an HDMI capture, and you can watch someone make a full video using just the Game Boy camera.
That's actually really cool. I want to try that now.
The video is called Classic Game Room Game Boy Camera. The guy makes the entire video with it.
Hey, Alex, you were saying something?
Does the Game Boy camera even have 1 megapixel?
It is 192 by 144 pixels. I think it's like 40 kilopixels or 30 kilopixels, going by that.
Okay.
So no.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and cover these next 2 articles and wrap up, because we have been told about how long we've been recording for.
Oh, okay. We got to hurry. Okay.
All right. So yeah, Frick, this is your article. Go for it.
Yeah, we'll make it quick. Basically, Riot's new game, Valorant, just came out of beta. It's publicly released right now. It's mainly seen as sort of like a Counter-Strike, Overwatch competitor. Really fun. 5v5, made by Riot, so it's going to be pretty well polished. And it's free. So if you want to go and play, you should try it out. Even though
It's made by Riot, so it's going to be pretty well polished. They haven't managed to fix a game in like 11 years.
I was hoping the sarcasm would be a little more obvious, but yeah.
I was going to say, is this going to be a loot box based game?
Oh, 100%.
There is a battle pass. It does have a battle pass to it.
Oh, great. Okay, so I already am not interested.
But it's not a bad game. Whenever you deal with any sort of game that's free to play or has some sort of like team-based Overwatch gimmick to it, the only thing that really matters is how much variety there's with the characters. And there's a ton with this game. Like, there's depth to it. There's a lot of ways to play, and the map size is kind of puny. But I mean, for a game that just dropped and has a
arena shooter, that's fine.
Yeah,
it's worth playing at the very least.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, if they don't have a character list on par with League of Legends, then I'm not playing. No, I'm kidding.
Why would you want to play League of Legends?
Yeah.
I think Dota 2 has more characters than League of Legends.
I don't think so.
No. I think League of Legends is up in the hundreds at this point.
How many champions in League of Legends?
It's like 120?
48. 148 in League of Legends. And then Dota 2.
How do they even balance that? Like, it just gets to a point where
they don't. Basically, they take the top stats, figure out what characters were being used the most, and they just nerf those.
Ooh, that's gross.
In Legends that just like got rid of cooldowns entirely and just let people like run wild with as many champs as they want. It was ridiculous. But it was fun. I think it was called like Ultra Rapid Fire.
Oh, and
yeah, I remember that being a thing. There were a bunch of people that were really into League at my
they got rid of that real quick.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Were any of them your friends?
I mean, if anything, it was. It seems like it's like more of a specialty game mode where it doesn't affect like the rank structure. So it's like people are still going to flock to the ranking system because of course the only thing that matters is getting up to a champion level or whatever the hell it's called.
Number go up.
Yeah.
But I mean, just so long as you can win against Lol Tyler 1, then I think you're all right.
An interesting thing about League versus like the other ones, though, is you can have an official League-sponsored like club for your university, and they'll sell you swag.
That was the thing. Why did they do that? Esports is really weird because like if you have regular sports, you could just have like a bunch of pals. Like, all right, cool, we got a football. We're having
I will
fun.
say, I've thoroughly enjoyed watching the college esport Rocket League tournaments that were going for a while.
But when you get into like esports, it's also like corporate-y, cargo culty. It's like, I need a computer for this, and I need to play this one video game, and I need like all of these things. It's just like pick up a football, you big nerd.
The only thing that sucks about any sort of competitive mode, and this was definitely the case for League, is that once you get into the ranked settings, it becomes so unbelievably toxic. Like, it is insane seriously people take this like virtual video game. The cool thing about Valorant is it doesn't have a ranked competitive mode, and they haven't announced when it will get one, because they said we want people just to learn the game first, which is smart, because if someone's first encounter in a new game was the ranked mode of it, oh god, they would quit immediately and never come back.
There's a reason why I never started playing League.
I played League. Game of League, and I didn't think it was fun. It wasn't even like it wasn't even toxic. It's just I don't get it. Why
the only time I actually had a genuine interest is because I had a bunch of buddies back when I went to university who were playing it, and I was interested in playing if I could play with them on a team. Yeah. But
that's how you're supposed to play it. You're not supposed to get paired up with randoms because it never ends well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but anyway, I still draw so many parallels back to like something like PlanetSide, where I know it's a completely different game, but
honestly,
like,
PlanetSide is fun even if you're not in like a squad, just screwing around and getting in yell chat and just posting stupid stuff there. Like, yeah, it's a good time.
I mean, I still think some of my favorite memories in PlanetSide was like there was this one guy who was well known on my faction, who went by DJ Ray Ray, and he was just well known because he was always playing like EDM mixes.
Yeah, we had
Love it.
oh god, I don't remember his name now.
The thing is that DJ Ray Ray, he wasn't just like one of those bot accounts that was just playing music. No, he was actually legitimately good at the game and would lead platoons while blasting music.
So shout out to the NC guy on Emerald named Rub My Paws, who would just post in yell chat, "I'm so lonely, somebody please rub my paws." Apparently he disappeared without a trace at some point, and I hope he's okay, and I wish him the best.
That was a thing in early Counter-Strike 1.6. There was a clan called Music that all they would do was they would go into servers and just play music, and they would annoy the hell out of every single person there. But that was the gimmick, and I didn't think that was something people still did in competitive video games.
Well, but that's the thing is like Planetside wasn't really competitive just due to how slow moving the games were, and there wasn't really any like real like tangible objective. Hey,
yeah, you've got like your server smash every so often, but that has to be organized, and I think that's by the devs themselves. Like what they do is they take two of the three factions of like one continent, and there's like 250 players on each side for the entire continent, and it's very heavily organized, and I have no idea how they even managed to do it at Planetside.
Oh man. I see. I ever since we brought up that Planetside 3 article from like 4 months ago, I've been super excited to play Planetside. But I know it's not.
I want to get back into it. Like Planetside 2, that is. Oh, Simmons, we should play Planetside 2. My computer's probably gonna explode if I try it.
Yeah, dude, we should do it. Oh, and then who threw in this last article? Project Cars.
Probably one of you.
Oh, that would have been Alex, probably. It's terrible. It was a simulator. Now they've made it an arcade game.
Oh, really?
Nice. So they turned it from a simulator like Forza into an arcade game like iRacing.
Like Forza.
Okay,
Forza's both.
So real quick, give me a moment to pull up this article because I want to read what they have to say about it. So Project Cars 3.
Happened to win it too.
Doesn't this happen with every single racing series? Like this happened with Grid too. Everyone was like, "Oh, it went from being really good to really interesting, like a sim, and then turning into like there was one called Grid Showdown or like Dirt Showdown. No, that
Dirt
was
Showdown.
Yeah, it would just turn into some like Wreck-'em car demolition derby type thing, which is completely different from what it was.
See, that sounds fine if they're not trying to advertise it as the next installment of the series.
They did.
Oh, no, I'm saying that happens with every every racing sim apparently goes through the cycle of starting with sim and then going arcadey and then just completely going off the rails.
Frick, you're wrong.
Am I?
Gran Turismo, R Factor, Live for Speed, or Live for Speed. They've never said how you say it. Assetto Corsa. Just basically any big ones.
Need for Speed's been pretty arcadey.
Need for Speed isn't a sim.
Yeah, Need for Speed is not a sim. That's just a race.
Like a hardcore sim.
No,
it only diverts into something totally different. Well, not always. It happens a lot.
Okay, so this is what I meant about how
it literally never happens. Like Project Cars 2, well, Project Cars 3 is the first one to do it.
Yeah, it just did.
Well, okay, so Frank, here's the deal. You can't compare games like Need for Speed to games like iRacing and Assetto Corsa, because Assetto Corsa and iRacing and those types of games are racing sim games. They're intended for racing simulation.
They're meant to be as real as possible. Like Assetto Corsa and iRacing are used by a lot of real world, like professional racing drivers.
NASCAR was literally using iRacing.
Right? Yeah, there's never been iRacing too, which has been iRacing.
Yeah, it's
NASCAR,
a subscription service.
NASCAR was using iRacing during the lockdown, for example.
So was IndyCar and V8 Supercars from Australia.
Everybody except Formula One because of licensing nonsense.
Yeah.
And I mean, we covered that article several weeks ago.
That's right, we did.
But that was still absolutely hilarious. The guy just rage quitting mid-tournament.
Yeah.
No, he didn't rage quit. He rage uninstalled the game, and the developers were not happy about it.
Yeah.
Still absolutely hilarious.
So Andrews, why is Project Cars trash?
Because it was a simulator that wasn't actually that good, but people, it doesn't matter. Then Project Cars 2 came out, which was the same thing, but it had a lot more content. And now Project Cars 3 is coming out, and they've turned it into an arcade game. Like, it's fine, like, if they sold it as a spin-off, but they didn't. They're selling it as a sequel. Like the people on the original Project Cars forums are really angry about it.
Well, Andrew, have you considered that maybe it's just more realistic for the cars to be like this?
They're not though.
Yes, it is.
I'm trying to figure out like what. Okay, so what you're saying is it's always been sim, and people have liked it for being sim.
Yeah, like that's the whole appeal of it.
Why would they just like? There has to be some sort of like marketing research or reason that they went this direction.
No, shut up, Chris. I forgot their name now. The Formula One people, not the real ones. Codemasters. They bought out the developer and said, "Make the game like this."
Okay, so it's definitely market research nonsense then. Like,
yeah,
corporate takeover. You got to do our thing now to make us the most money.
Yep.
Yeah, they just destroyed it. Looking in the trailer, there's still time for them to fix it, but I don't think they will.
I mean, they have to revamp the whole game, right?
Well, it's running on the same game engine. Like underneath, it's basically the same game. They just need to change the physics of it. It's not going to be that difficult. Just bring Project Cars 2 physics into the game.
Oh, the game! I looked at the launch trailer. The game looks beautiful. Like that is. Oh, yeah. It looks. If that's in-game footage, that looks amazing.
Oh yeah,
it is. But the problem is, it's not actually that good compared to Assetto Corsa Competizione and some other one. Actually, Forza 7 looks better, and that's a 3-year-old game at this point.
Yeah, I was reading some stuff that said this is going to be one of the launch titles for PS5 because there's always one racing game for every new console that showcases how good it can be. Because racing games consistently have like across the board some of the best graphics when it's a new console.
Project Cars 3 isn't it? For Xbox, it is Forza, and they have delayed Forza 8 specifically for the Xbox. Well, I'm just assuming they haven't said anything, but I'm assuming they delayed Forza 8 for the Series X or whatever they called it. And
what is it for PlayStation? It's Gran
Turismo, yeah.
Okay.
And what was the Gran Turismo that was the big title for the PS3? Was it 4?
That was 5. It was delayed for 5 years. It was meant to be a launch title. It launched in 2010.
No, but I did eventually play it, and I had a good time with it.
It is a very good-looking game.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this, Andrews. Has there ever been a bad Gran Turismo game?
Yes.
Yeah, Gran Turismo 6. They just destroyed it.
Wait, okay, now what happened?
Okay. Gran Turismo 1 through 5 had endurance races, and I'm still angry about this. Like actual 24-hour real-world hours races. For Gran Turismo 6, they decided they didn't want to do that. They'd condense it down into 24-minute races.
That's not an endurance race.
I know. That's not even like a warm-up for most motorsports.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, just knowing my experience with Assetto Corsa, I think we would spend probably 2 to 3 hours on a single track. I mean, granted, we would switch out our cars, but still.
Yeah, that's not even racing. That's just messing around, like an actual race.
Yeah.
I could go for a lot longer, like 2 hours on my own, swap drive. Actually, no, I have done this with Alex in iRacing. We did a 6-hour race.
Dang.
Okay, so what else? Was that
just the two of you, or were there other people?
I know, just the two of us, but we were on a team versus, like, I think 12 other teams.
Okay. So kind of a community event thing, even though it's just one-on-one on the track.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we've got to talk about, unless anybody else wants to bring up something.
I'm just beyond caring about like living, so whatever.
Well, it's finally a topic that I could talk about.
Yeah. I was gonna say no. I think that was a good article to wrap up on. Mary, do you have any last thoughts that you want?
The fun topics though, which sucks.
We're talking to the lady.
Yeah, Mary, do you have anything you would like to bring up just randomly?
Like, not really.
All right, great.
There we go. We'll save the best article for next week.
Smack the microphone or whatever you want to do. 3, 2, 1.
Honk. Do you like my honk?
Alex, get out of here.
It needs to be put in the podcast somewhere.
Yeah, just isolate Alex's audio track.
I was gonna say no. I know. I hope that when Jack is listening to this, that he just
make a note of it. Make a note of that for Jack. Make a note of that for Jack. Okay.
All right. Yes. No, Frick was really excited about one of the off topics, but we've been going on for quite a while now. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So yes, thank you all for listening. Be sure to check out extremehardware.net for quality content and memes, especially in off topic. Thank you, Frick, Alex.
Wow, Simmons, that is extremely cringy. Be sure to check out our website for quality memes. What is this, Facebook?
Yes.